It's going to be a L-O-N-G night. No, they actually spell out the word long on the front cover. What, is the book turning the word long into an acronym? Let's see here. L is for life, O is for of, N is for no, G is for gold. Holy shit, that just described every internet troll thing before there was such a thing. This book was published in 1994 and is the 27th book in the original series. It's somewhat of an oddball in the series in that it does have a primary antagonist. Its antagonist is actually a human, and the supernatural elements involved include time travel and memory manipulation. What do I mean? Well, let's look at that plot. Our narrator for this book is a girl named Sue. She and her younger brother Eddie are in London along with their parents who are at some super big conference, and they're passing the time by visiting several landmarks throughout London. It should be noted this is one of the few books in the series to include a real-world location. The last place on the tour is the eponymous Terror Tower, totally not the Tower of London, a medieval prison that, to be perfectly honest, sounds like a really cool place to visit. It's full of all sorts of torture chambers, and the story of the Prince of York who were imprisoned in the tower in the 15th century is one of the things in the series can actually be depressing enough to, well, let's not say bring a tear to the eye. The contender for that still goes to The Ghost Next Door. To continue on their tour, their guy, Mr. Stark's making some seriously bad jokes about the torture devices. Yeah, the guy needs to take lessons from Chuck Conroy. Sue notices a guy she hadn't seen in the group before, a guy in a long black cape with a wide-brimmed black hat and dressed in black underclothes. Yep, she saw a Vampire Hunter cosplayer. I'm kidding. He creeps Sue out because he just keeps staring at her and Eddie. Yeah, I'd be a little creeped out too if I were a 12-year-old kid. We'll find out who this guy is in a little bit. Sue stops to take a picture of one of the torture devices, the rack, but Eddie has swiped her camera. See, Eddie is a little pickpocket. I can only imagine this got him into a lot of trouble back in the States, but Sue never elaborates. She just says he's getting better at it. No, she admits that rather reluctantly. The tour group heads into the next room, complete with thumbscrews. Ouch. Sue decides to pay Eddie back with his little pickpocket gag by pretending to clamp some spiked shackles around her wrist. Little turd deserved it, I guess. They head up into the North Tower, complete with a tiny stairway. This must be every claustrophobe's nightmare, especially when they look at the cover of the book, which has the Axeman coming down the narrow stairs. As they go, Sue gets a serious case of deja vu and passes it off as her remembering seeing the Terror Tower in a Travel Channel documentary. Mr. Stark explains that this room is where the Prince and Princess of York were kept until they were set to be executed thanks to their uncle the King, Great One, Hamlet again. Oh, and get this. The Prince and Princess were named Edward and Susanna, respectively. Can you already see where this is going? No? Then let's continue, shall we? Mr. Stark explains that Edward and Susanna were smothered in their sleep, and as Sue and Eddie are taking a look around, their tour group vanishes. Dun dun dun. Sue and Eddie start panicking even more so when they run into the Man in Black. He keeps telling the kids they have to come with him. He pulls 3 white stones out of his cape and starts to stack them on top of each other, but it seems like that he sucks at making a tower of stones because one of them falls out of his hand, giving Sue and Eddie a chance to escape. The Man in Black chases them into a replica torture chamber, then down to the sewers in a scene that so reminds me of Entry 60 of Marble Hornets Nest without the Slender Man in the sewers, thank fucking God. But in a strange case of luck, if you can even call it that, a swarm of rats comes rushing down the tunnel and, I'm not kidding here, chases the Man in Black away. I guess he's afraid of rats. But what are the chances there's a swarm of rats in the same sewer as these characters? By the way, Sue and Eddie manage to evade the rats by holding onto a ladder. Once the rats are gone, Sue and Eddie keep going down the sewers until they make it outside and meet a police officer. The cop offers to call the kids a taxi, which they take back to their hotel. But there's a problem. The suit the money has apparently is not real. They tell Cappy they'll just get their parents to pay him, but he gives them a time limit of 5 minutes or he's coming in after them. They head to their hotel room, let me rephrase that, hotel suite. I guess their parents are real big shots, but looks like Mom and Dad, we never mean the story getting that out there right now, kissed up and left. The kids head to the front desk to ask the clerk where their parents' meeting's being held, but it turns out there is no meeting today. To pound that fact, Sue and Eddie now forget what their last names are. Oh, great convenient amnesia. Sue and Eddie head into the restaurant, figuring to get them some food and that will help them remember. But they start to forget even more. What their parents look like, their parents' names, what they did just the day before, where they live, Cappy. Yeah, he comes in to look for them. They escape into the kitchen only to run into the Man in Black again. What's this guy's deal? This time, the man in black manages to put the stones together and recite some weird words, which, and bear with me here, sends him back to 15th century London. Well, it takes him a while to figure this out, but to quote Bardock from the episode Bardock Abridged,
I'm in the past. Of all the stupid, asinine, shark-dumping bullshit!
well, that's what the kids are probably thinking anyway. Or something along those lines. Spend most of the time just wandering around asking people what's up, but they get captured by the man in black. Eddie is taken away while Sue isn't looking, and Sue tries to hide in an old woman's house, but is sold out for a few shillings. Also, this old woman reveals that the man in black is the Lord High Executioner, the one who's going to kill the Prince and Princess of York. The kids are locked in the tower where they meet another character, Mordred the Court Magus. He provides a lengthy info about how Sue and Eddie are in fact Prince Edward and Princess Susanna of York.
What a twist!
Mordred explains that he sent Edward and Susanna into the 20th century complete with new memories, albeit incomplete memories, which explains why they began to forget some things, to keep them safe from the executioner, but he followed them to the future to finish the job. I admire the man's commitment to his job at the very least. The executioner comes into the room to, well, execute them. Mordred tries to plead with him to spare the kids, but of course the executioner doesn't listen. And did I forget to mention that Edward's pickpocketing strikes again? Yeah, he swipes the stones from Mordred. Gotta get the habit, bud. And hands them to Mordred, who recites the same words that the executioner did earlier, whisking them back to the modern times. They meet up with their tour group, and it turns out that Mordred came along to act as the kid's guardian under the surname Morgan. Begins with no surprise twist at the end, a rarity in the series. You know what? This book sounds like it will make it for a good Doctor Who episode. I mean, think about it. The TARDIS lands in medieval London. Just as Anne Boleyn is being sent to the executioner's block, the Doctor and his companion end up saving her. The executioner chases them to the TARDIS, and in a big action scene, the TARDIS is damaged and lands in modern-day London. The chase ensues around London, ending up at the Tower of London, where Anne learns that her spirit is said to haunt the place. She begs the Doctor and his companion to take her back in order for reality to be maintained, and to face her inevitable destiny. They put Anne and the executioner back, and nobody lives happily ever after. Imagine that, Stephen Moffat. Enough of characters. Unlike Scamper Walks at Midnight, I don't have a whole slew of characters to go through, but rather just 4. Sue, Eddie, the executioner, and Mordred. Sue is our narrator, the more mature of the 2 kids, though she admits she can act a bit immature when Eddie prompts her to. In reality, she is Susanna, Princess of York. Much like Jodie, remember she's the basis for all of the protagonists, she seems to have a good head on her shoulders and doesn't panic as easily as Eddie does when things go pear-shaped, though her fear does take over in the end. Again, like Jodie, she's a pretty likable character, and thank God the same thing can be said for her brother. Edward is not the scrappy, unlike fucking Mark. He can be legitimate funny at times, though his pickpocketing is going to get him in trouble in the future. In actuality, he is Edward, Prince of York. Since he's younger than Sue, maybe by a couple of years, he's a bit more immature and more prone to panicking when shit hits the fan. The pickpocketing does come into play a few times throughout the story, making it sort of a check-off skill where it sort of saves everyone's asses at the end. The Executioner is one of the few villains in the series who have absolutely no supernatural qualities, time travel notwithstanding. He's one of the only human villains I can think of at the moment, the other one being Alexander from Deep Trouble, and his motivation is just the desire to see his job through to the end. In the TV adaptation, he actually steals one of Mordred's stones at the end as a last-minute plot twist. This never happens in the book, though. The thing I really like about this guy is that he can pop up anywhere, which adds to the fear in the story. The kids don't know where he's going to be next. In that sense, he's sort of like Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, or the Slender Man, that he could be gone for several minutes, only to pop up as if to say, "Surprise, motherfucker, did you forget about me?" Mordred is the last character in the story, and he comes in during the last couple of chapters. He's the Court Magus, and the one responsible for sending Eddie and Sue to the modern age and keeping safe from the execution. We all know how well that worked. I really don't have a lot to say for this guy because it shows up so late that we don't get a good read on him outside of that info dump the last, 3 chapters. But it's nice to know that he becomes sort of a father figure to Sue and Eddie at the end. Under the moniker of Mr. Morgan. That was A Night in Terror Tower, arguably one of the better books in the series. Not the best, but still a good one. So stay tuned next month when I take a look at The Girl Who Cried Monster.